What is up, everyone, and welcome to some more F1 25 My Team Career Mode, and we are here ready for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Last time out we were in Japan. It was a pretty tricky race, and we only were able to muster P16, I believe it was, in the end. But I'm hoping we'll be able to bounce back with a good result here today at the Bahrain International Circuit, one of the most balanced circuits in Formula One. So we should be looking at a decent result here, hopefully. As for tyre allocation, before we progress, we have obviously our usual choices of softer, balanced, or harder. And as always, what it really comes down to is what strategy you think is going to be the winning strategy. And Bahrain is one of those tracks where the tyre wear isn't usually too bad. So I think balanced will probably be the option that we choose to go for. This is one of those rare tracks where actually the softs can do a little bit if you go onto them. So yeah, I think we're gonna just opt for a balanced tire allocation here, and then without further ado, it is time for us to get into the race weekend. And as always, we have to choose our driver for the weekend. Last time out we played as Zak O'Sullivan, so this time out we are going to be driving as Paul Aron. Now obviously, as we touched on at the end of last video, Paul Aron will be having our first upgrade of the season on his car. The plank upgrade is going to be coming to Zak O'Sullivan's car in a few races' time, but we'll see what kind of impact this makes, as it will slightly improve our chassis, which is by far the weakest aspect of our car so far. And now we are going to get ourselves into the first practice session of the weekend. Unless anything particularly interesting happens throughout practice, then I will see you back towards the start of qualifying. Well, it was a very successful practice session. We finished P2 in the end, and that was with a set of medium tyres, where most drivers were out on the soft compound tyres. So I think we could be in for a very successful qualifying session here. So I think, again, that much like in Japan, I think the target here is going to be a Q3 appearance, and then we'll see where we can go from there. So without further ado, let's get ourselves into qualifying. So here we are in Q1 on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. I was hoping that I would be able to make it through Q1 using only one set of soft compound tyres, so I could save a fresh set for the race if I could. And well, it was a pretty good lap in the end. As we come around the final corner now, you can see I set a purple sector, and in the end we did a 1:30.5, which put us 8/10 off Lando Norris, but would have been good enough to see us through. Just the one set of tyres was good enough to see us through in P4 here in Q1. A few drivers that are sort of in a bit of a higher position than you'd expect, like Behrman and Hulkenberg. Let's find out now who got knocked out. Yuki Tsunoda knocked out there in the Red Bull, so very disappointing for him. He's joined by Franco Colapinto, the two Williams of Albon and Sainz, Colapinto's teammate Pierre Gasly in 21st, and Zak O'Sullivan a long way off the pace in P22, 1.3 seconds off of Pierre Gasly in 21st. Just kind of goes to show how bad our car supposedly should be. And I just don't understand a situation where I would ever be able to pull out this as my best lap time. Like, I don't know. I'm starting to wonder whether Zak O'Sullivan maybe just isn't very good. But nonetheless, we'll see now if we can get ourselves through to Q3 as we get into the second qualifying session. And here we are on the same set of tyres that we were on before. So not expecting this to be my overall best lap of the session, but it was still a pretty decent lap. No real mistakes, and we crossed the line to do a 1:30.8. So that was good enough to put us P7 originally, but I thought with everybody probably going again later in the session, I would need to improve on that one. And, well, in fact, I was wrong, because as you can see here, we're still in P7 come the end of the session. But at this point, I was interested to see what kind of time I would be able to do on this fresh set of soft compound tyres. 1.2 seconds up now as we make our way through the final couple of corners, because allegedly that is 2 corners at the end of the track. But yeah, come to the line now. We're going to be in the 129s. There's a 129.6, and that of course is good enough to see us through in P4. So hopefully we should be able to do a pretty good job come Q3 as well. In the end, my run on a used set would have been good enough to see me through from Q2, but we ended up doing a run on a fresh set nonetheless, and we ended up setting a 129.6, which was only a tenth off of Max Verstappen, in fact. So yeah, through in P4. Once again, few surprise packages coming through: Lawson, Bearman, Hulkenberg, and then the drivers that are knocked out here were Alonso and Bortoleto. Again, a bit of a disappointing result for Antonelli. Isaac Hadjar being knocked out along with Ocon and Stroll as well. So I think once again a real chance for us to maybe qualify around P7 here, I think, is what I'll be targeting. I think we'll be able to beat out Lawson, Bearman and Hulkenberg at the very least, and we'll see if we can mix it up with the big boys as we get ourselves now into Q3. Right then, so here we are on the first flying lap of Q3. And once again on a used set of soft compound tyres. This was the same set of tyres that I just qualified on out of Q2. Across the line, 130.2. Pretty good run on the used softs, to be fair. So yeah, I was wondering whether I would be able to mix it up at the top end of the field come the end of the session. But right now we are running in that P7 position, which is where I was targeting. But with a 6/10 improvement through the middle sector, I was looking like I was probably going to be getting into the upper echelons here, maybe sort of first or second row, which once again, you know, is a little bit trivial in my opinion. But as we come to the line, it's a 7/10 improvement, a 129.5. We improved 1/10 on where we were at the end of Q2. It's good enough in the end for a third place in qualifying, so we will be starting on that second row.
With qualifying complete, all that remains now is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
I don't really even know what to say about this. You know, we're on, I think, 102 AI difficulty now, and I'm taking the comfortably worst car on the grid to P3 in qualifying. There are some issues with the AI in this game which I think need to be ironed out, and this has been highlighted here because it's just one of those things where I feel like I can't celebrate being P3 because I know it's farcical. It's not really what I'm trying to do with this series either. You know, if you watch my F1 22 My Team career mode, you know that season 1 we had a miserable time of things. Especially to start out the season. So that's kind of why I start the way I do, with no money, no facilities, no car. We try and deliberately make it as hard for ourselves as we possibly can, and it just feels like the game has almost nerfed itself a little bit sometimes. So yeah, well, regardless, I set a good lap time. Like, I was very happy with the performance I put on there, but I don't know, I can't help but feel like we should be a lot further behind basically all of these drivers than we've ended up being. So yeah, anyway, we are going to be starting P3 in the race tomorrow, and well, speaking of which, it is now time to get into the race.
There was a race against time in 2004 to get Sakhir ready for its Grand Prix debut. But today, the only race is where it matters, right on track. Welcome to the Bahrain Grand Prix. We'll be racing around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit today. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left down into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Aaron, Leclerc, Lando Norris and Verstappen, Russell, Bearman, Hulkenberg and Liam Lawson, Fernando Alonso, Antonelli, Isaac Hadjar and Ocon, Stroll, Colapinto, Gabriel Bortoleto and Yuki Tsunoda, Albon, Sainz, Gasly and Zach O'Sullivan rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. And alongside me today, a man small in stature but big on comment, Anthony Davidson. Hello. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? what do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
So, strategy-wise, they're actually recommending a one-stop. I do not think this is the correct strategy to go for. I think this two-stop strategy is going to be the better strategy, but I'm going to try and alter it a little bit. So I think we're going to start on the soft compound tires, and yeah, I think boxing at those times is probably the right thing to do. So I think 15 laps on the softs followed by 21 on each set of mediums I think will be the play. So yeah, we'll go with that, and then I don't know why that's suggesting that's going to be 6 seconds faster starting on the mediums, because surely if I were to edit this, that's not going to be I don't understand at all, to be honest. But that's fine because we're going with this strategy anyway. As for fuel, I reckon we'd probably just stick with what we've got, fully fueled up. We may have to do a bit of fuel saving again. At the moment, I think that the car's just not very good on fuel, so I think perhaps that will be a route of upgrading that we might have to go down. But yeah, that is pretty much all we need to do in terms of setup for the race. And without further ado, I will hand you over to my commentary self, who will take you through this race.
Right then, so here we are on the grid getting ready to go. Most cars around me also starting on those soft compound tyres, with the exception of Oscar Piastri, who will be starting on the medium. So you would expect that at the very least we will be able to get him off the start. But we'll see if we can actually compete with the rest of the drivers around us. Now the softs aren't going to be the superior tyre over the mediums for too long, but we're only going to be on them for about 15 laps or so, and then we're going to switch over to a couple sets of mediums to finish things off. So yeah, we would be expecting that Oscar Piastri is going to probably get ahead of us at some point during that first stint. It's just a question of whether we can keep him behind or not. As we get ready to go now, as the lights come on and the lights go out, and it looks like we've had a pretty good getaway compared to Oscar Piastri there, and even compared to Lewis Hamilton, to be fair, who defends to the inside. And it looks like we might be able to go round the outside here and get ourselves up into P1 off the start there. A great start from us, and once again, for I believe the third time this season, one of the Jaguars taking the lead off the race start. But I will be surprised if we are going to stay here forever. For now, the game is just trying to stay here for as long as we can. Make sure that we get lots of lights on those sponsors on our car. Lots of cameras on there, and then we can slowly sort of dip back into the field and hopefully close out a points finish, whatever that may be. But who knows? Maybe we'll be able to pull away from the cars behind us. At one point we were 0.5 of a second ahead of Hamilton, so anything is possible. And as we make our way down into the heavy braking zone of turn 10, you can see the gap is about 0.5. However, I do just think that our car is perhaps a little bit slower on the straights. I think we're slightly better set up for the corners than for the straights, perhaps, and that might come back to punish us a little bit later in the race, especially on those main straights with the DRS. You can see that the Ferrari is just so much faster than us in that straight line, and that means that we are slowly falling back into the clutches of Lewis Hamilton down the straight into the final couple of corners, to the point that Lewis Hamilton's car is actually ahead of ours into that part of the track. And now I think we are probably going to fall behind Lewis Hamilton here, as we also come under pressure from Oscar Piastri on those medium compound tyres. He's going to go to the inside of Lewis Hamilton, who is himself defending to the inside. That means that both of those cars are super tight to the inside of the corner, and that once again is going to give me the opportunity to just sweep around the outside of both of them and hold on to that P1 position. So Hamilton especially definitely had a chance to get past us, but opted not to there. Just making our way through lap 2 nice and quickly. This DRS zone that we're in right now is not really an overtaking opportunity. It's just too short to really get past with DRS. So your main overtaking opportunities seem to be down this straight because of our lack of straight line speed, and down the main straight as well into turn 1 using that DRS, which, speaking of which, I will now have. So even though Lewis Hamilton has got ahead of us there, you would expect us to maybe win that position back with the DRS. I'm not even burning any battery, and you can see the overspeed with the DRS is just enabling us to absolutely fly past Lewis Hamilton and up into P1 once again. So just swapping the lead back and forth between myself, Hamilton and Piastri right now. You know, if we can keep doing this for the entire race, then who knows, maybe we could finish in a very good position after all. But coming under a little bit more pressure from Lewis Hamilton into turn 4, managed to hold on to it, and now we're going to speed through the rest of this lap once again. The middle sector of this track especially, just a little bit processional, and not really an opportunity for overtaking, really. Instead, it's just about the car behind, trying to stay in touch with the car in front, so that they can get ahead later on in the lap. And that is exactly what I think Lewis Hamilton is going to look to do into the final corner here as he dives down the inside. We brake nice and early, and that's going to give us a decent run around the outside. But this time, I think he is going to have that DRS because he was just slightly further behind us getting into the corner. So we should expect him to break away now, and in fact Oscar Piastri is going to do the same thing. As you might have seen in the top there, that Alex Albon is also out of the session, so we'll have a look what happened to him in just a moment. But yeah, Oscar Piastri now making his way up to P2, and we have fallen down into P3, and probably that is the last time we will see first place for the rest of the race, as this is what happened to Alex Albon. Having a look at that replay, and you can see that he has just had a bit of smoke coming out the back of his car. Mercedes engine, of course, in that car. And yeah, he is going to be out of the race, as Lando Norris now is looking to get past us potentially. Not sure who got the DRS there, whether it was me or him, but we are going to try and hold on. But you can see I've just used so much battery already in this race, and I did in fact not get the DRS, as you can see. But interestingly, neither did Lando Norris. So yeah, with neither of us with DRS, we actually do have an opportunity to attack him here. But the one man that did have DRS was Max Verstappen, who has now dived his way up the inside and into P3. So in getting back ahead of Norris, we've actually ended up losing out on a position to Verstappen anyway. So there was no overall change there. Still in P4, and now Norris is probably going to come back at us again on that run down into the final couple of corners. Is he going to go for the move? Yes, he is, by the looks of things. We're going to try and hold on around the outside of him, but I'm just getting absolutely murdered in that corner. No matter what I do, I can't seem to keep these faster cars behind. This time he does have the DRS, as does Charles Leclerc, and it's looking like both of those drivers are now going to get ahead of us into that first corner. And now we're kind of in a bit of an as-you-were type situation. This is where I think I might be able to start holding on to the positions I've got. You know, you look at the next cars that are behind me, it's the likes of Alonso, Behrman, so I thought maybe I'd be able to hold on to these positions, but look at how wrong I was, because here comes Fernando Alonso. He opts not to go for the move into the final corner, but now, once again, I am going to get absolutely blitzed on that main straight. Obviously, 2025, the Aston Martin had a Mercedes power unit rather than the Honda power unit it now has in the 2026 season, and here comes Fernando Alonso just absolutely breezing past on that main straight and up into P6. We're down into P7, and we'll see if we can now hold on to the position from Oliver Behrman behind us on those medium compound tyres. He's swapping places with Antonelli, and that actually gave us a decent chunk of laps where we were just holding on to the position. But now on lap 15, we're coming under a lot of pressure from Oliver Behrman. He's obviously got those superior medium compound tyres, which he's putting to good effect. But this is the lap that I'm planning on coming off these soft compound tyres. You can see he got right in my way. I had to do a big lift there to avoid going into the side of Oliver Behrman. You see that all the time with the AI. If one of them's on the inside of a driver and they're trying to go into the pit lane, they end up just turning into each other, and it can get really sort of clunky and a little bit awkward. But fortunately, I had the brains to not do that, and now we are going to box onto a set of medium compound tyres. Of course, there is a pit stop error, as there often is with us. 4.4 second pit stop, so now we're going to have a little bit of work to do if we want to pull off an undercut on any of the drivers that were in front of us. Another thing we have to pay attention to, which I briefly sort of brought up before the race started, was the fuel. We're now in the negatives for fuel, so I'm going to have to be doing a little bit of lifting and coasting into the majority of the corners. But even in spite of doing that, we actually did have some pretty decent pace on the cars who are yet to box, which includes the likes of Colapinto, who now we're going to see if we can try and get ahead of in that DRS zone. Meanwhile, being yelled at for our ERS, which is, yeah, pretty bad, I have to admit. I'm not managing to recharge any of it. You know, I probably should be running the middle sector in none going forward, but I don't know if I actually did decide to do that or not in the end. It's a lot of things to manage in a race, of course, and now we're putting Gabriel Bortoleto under a bit of pressure. He started on those hard compound tyres, so yeah, he's probably going to be coming into the pit stop for his first stop pretty soon, I would say. Meanwhile, a lot of cars now coming into the pit lane. That promotes us up into P13, and maybe with the DRS here, we'll even be able to get Bortoleto up into P12. Are we going to go for a move here? Yes, we are, down the inside, and we should now be able to leave Bortoleto behind and see if we can pull away through this a bit more technical tyre-dependent middle sector, where we can sort of stretch our legs on the Kick Sauber driver. And you can see by the time we get to lap 22, he's 3.5 seconds behind us, and it's Liam Lawson that we're putting some pressure on. And again, with his inferior tyres, we just managed to out-drag him on the exit of turn 10. He does fight us back a little bit, even though I had the DRS. He was not giving that one up. I think he was probably using a little bit of battery. But as we make our way through the exit of that corner, we will be ahead of Liam Lawson, and now up into P7, which I believe is where we were before. So I don't know who's boxed and who hasn't, but ultimately we are as we were. This is Pierre Gasly having a big puff of smoke out the back of his car for what I believe is the second race weekend in a row, making a bit of contact with, I believe that's Isaac Hadjar there, and yeah, I think fortunately Hadjar didn't get any damage from that, but Pierre Gasly will be the next retirement from this race. Big jump forward now, nothing really happening, kind of just running in a bit of a no man's land for now, and at the moment what we're focusing on really is just sort of maintaining the gaps around us to Alonso and Behrman, trying to bring down that gap to Alonso if we can. But as you'll see over the course of this lap, those gaps not really changing a great deal, you know, fluctuating a few tenths here and there, but nothing particularly major that is representative of us being faster or slower than any of the cars around us. Obviously there's Antonelli in the Mercedes, who you would expect to close us down being in a faster car, but we'll see whether we'll be able to keep him behind or not. Our pit window is coming up as well, so that's something that we have to look out for. Maybe it will give us a chance to pull off a bit of an undercut on the cars around us. Not 100% sure, but yeah, right now just a bit sort of settling into the rhythm of the race. And by the time we come into the pit lane, you can see that Antonelli had closed us down a little bit, but still was not particularly close to overtaking us as we come in for our second and final stop of the day onto those medium compound tyres once again. So yeah, pulling into the lane, hopefully this will be a better stop than it was last time, and indeed 2.4 seconds, so making up for the pit stop error a little bit earlier on in the race. And now 20 laps to the end, and we'll see if we can have a little bit more action in this final stint compared to that second stint where it was just overtaking cars that had yet to pit and then just kind of settling into a bit of a rhythm. Nothing really happened up until the end of lap 40, start of lap 41, where you can see we are now right on the back of Fernando Alonso with that DRS. The pit phase allowed us to pull off a bit of an undercut on Fernando Alonso. It wasn't quite enough for us to actually completely undercut him, but get a bit of a run on the curb there, exceed the track limits, but fortunately we hadn't overtaken him through that bit where we exceeded the track limits, so that was perfectly legal as a move. We just need to be careful because I had already had one other track limits warning earlier on in the race as well. So yeah, get ahead of Alonso there, and then he was just sat behind us, not really looking to make any kind of overtake or anything like that, until we get to lap 49, where you can see he's going to try and dive down the inside of us into the first corner. I'm going to try and hold on to him, but the AI is just a little bit better at managing the tyres than a human-controlled player, especially a human-controlled player who is on a controller like myself. So yeah, coming under a bit of pressure from Fernando Alonso there, but I'm fighting hard to keep him behind at the moment. You know, we've saved enough fuel now that we don't really need to be doing too much lift and coast anymore either, so we can probably afford to push to the end on the fuel as well now. Might need to do a tiny bit here and there if we push really hard, but yeah, keeping Fernando Alonso behind through the middle of the lap, and I don't know if he's close enough on this occasion to think about going for a move down into that first corner. and indeed you can see by the time we get to the braking zone he's still about 3/10 back and won't be going for that move on this occasion. So only 7 laps to go now, and we're in a really good spot, currently running in P6. I don't know if we'll be able to hold on to this one or not, but I'm pretty happy with the result regardless of where we finish from this point onwards. Looking at the track map, I don't think it's going to be any lower than P8, as Fernando Alonso does overtake us with the DRS this time, but now we should get the DRS back into the next part of the track, but you can see that he just breaks away so much with the traction, and ultimately we're not even going to be close enough to think about going for that move. So as we make our way onto the end of lap 54, start of lap 55, it is Antonelli breezing past us. I did suggest that would probably happen eventually, and if you look down the field now, it is 22 seconds back to the nearest car. So if we are not going to get ahead of any of these cars in front of us, which you can see as we make our way now into the final lap, they just started pulling away from us. I had burnt out my tyres to a point where they were legitimately just faster than me, and there wasn't really anything I could do about that. So yeah, onto the final lap. You can see that we are probably in the rightful position that we should have been in. Could we have defended from the cars in front a little bit better? Maybe, I don't know, but our tyres were struggling a little bit at this point. Lewis Hamilton ended up winning the race, and we are just coming through the final few corners, or the final few sectors I should say, now into the final few corners. And yeah, it was a somewhat quiet Bahrain Grand Prix, especially after that first stint, especially the first 10 laps or so. Very, very action-packed. I was kind of fighting hard to hold on to my position, but ultimately, this is the problem with the qualifying being as busted as it is that we qualify well, but then we're in a position we have no business being in. So we're going to cross the line and take P8, and I mean, I'm happy with the points, but I just wish that the way these races played out was slightly different. I'd like to be the one doing some overtaking at some point. So yeah, Yuki Tsunoda bagging driver of the day, and a P8 finish for us.
And Lewis Hamilton takes the checkered flag and once again wins.
A great display of dominance today, Crofty, by this driver. They led from lights out to the flag at the end, led every lap of the race. Brilliant stuff by them, and excited to see what more they can do in future races.
Well, it's been a long wait for many of our drivers, but the wait is always worth it. Bring them out to the awaiting crowd. It's time for our podium celebrations. And back on the top spots that he's taken so often in the past. So well done to Lewis Hamilton.
Well, obviously last season was a little bit disappointing in reality for Ferrari, but for Ferrari so far, they've had a very good season, and it's none other than Lewis Hamilton that takes the victory here today in a Ferrari 1-2 over his teammate Charles Leclerc. Max Verstappen picking up P3, and no McLaren on the podium, which obviously they had a very good season in real life, so a bit of a shock there.
It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action, and I can't wait to see what's next.
I'm prepared to call that a success, I think. Yes, we didn't finish where we started, but I don't think that was ever really on the cards. We didn't have the pace of the top 4 teams, but nonetheless, we've managed to finish ahead of 2 of the top 4 teams' drivers in Tsunoda and Russell, of course. Perhaps the only driver there that I think we maybe could have beaten would have been Fernando Alonso, but he, of course, did have a very good season in the Aston Martin in 2025, and it looks like he's shaping up to do exactly that once again. So, yeah, I think a P8 is a pretty solid result. And then it was O'Sullivan all the way down in P20, not really near anybody else. Just having a bit of a quiet race, but you know, still you have to be in it to win it, and O'Sullivan stayed in it if nothing else, so I think he can be pretty happy with that. Liam Lawson actually opting to do the 1 stop, that apparently was not the correct strategy, because he finished 19th having started 10th, so I think I'd be pretty disappointed with that. Oscar Piastri did manage to actually make it work to a certain degree, but once again he fell down the order. He started in 2nd and could only finish 4th on the 1 stop, so I think the 2 stop was the right strategy to be on today, and that was the one that the majority of drivers did. But yeah, that is it for the race portion of this weekend, but don't go anywhere, because as always we will do a little debrief and then get ourselves prepared for the next race weekend as well. Okay, so we are required in the personnel facility to kick things off here, and unfortunately a member of our chassis team
has posted a statement on social media that casts our lead sponsor in a negative light. The sponsor is pressuring us to take action, but handling this too harshly could create unrest within the department. How should we proceed? We can't allow staff members to speak out like this. We'll have to release them, or we must maintain team unity, but we also can't have employees making inappropriate comments. We're going to discipline them because team morale is very, very important, as we've seen in the past. Right then, we do have another race coming up in just a few days' time, so we won't have a chance to do too many activities. Owner activities, there won't be any. Engineering, there won't be any. And personnel, there won't be any. But we may have a chance to discover a new secondary sponsor, so we're going to go ahead and do that. We're almost up to fan rating 2 now. Mathis is happy because we've got some points on the board. And we also have a new sentiment as well. It's actually a negative sentiment saying, I want to see them getting more top 10s, which I think this is a bit of a weird time to show that sentiment on account of the fact that we literally just finished in the points. But yeah, I mean, who knows? In terms of where we are in the championship now, Paul Aaron makes his way back into P8 in the championship, only a couple points behind Yuki Tsunoda. We're currently 5th in the constructors as well, which is really nice to see. So I think the chances of us finishing in the bottom couple of places are dwindling all the time, which is good. Now let's have a look at our engineering facility, and we have a chance to do a little bit more research. We'll see where we can go. I think because we've already got aero underway, we won't be able to do another one. Chassis, we've got something underway, so again, I think there are no available slots on that one. But powertrains, we've upgraded the pistons. As I said before, fuel efficiency is the thing that I'm really particularly interested in improving, but this is currently unavailable. I don't know when this becomes available, what I need to research or upgrade in order to make the fuel efficiency available, but as soon as we can, that's what we want to go for. But for now, I guess we're just going to focus on spark plugs, because that's the one thing that we can get researched before the Miami Grand Prix, so we'll start that research now. And then durability, we are currently in the process of researching this improved materials for the MG UK. So development wise, do we have any new parts? No, but we can now produce pistons, so we will do that, and we were able to get them onto one car for Imola. We won't be able to quite get them ready for Miami, but we'll do that. And then we have something we're developing for all of these other departments. So yeah, we should be able to hopefully start seeing some upgrades coming onto the cars as we move on throughout the rest of the season now. In terms of personnel, I don't think there's anything going on here, but we do have an upgrade to our personnel liaisons, but I don't think we could do facility improvements. I think we've already done that. Let's just have a double check. Oh, actually, no, we can do a facility improvement. All right, so let's have a quick look. What is cheapest here? Any of these 1.25 million ones. So I guess we'll just go for... well, it allows you to build 2 facility improvements at the same time. Okay, this is actually huge if we can unlock some of these. So yeah, we'll definitely start researching these. We'll go for personnel first, I suppose, just because it's at the top. But realistically, we want all of these. And also this one, reduce cost of facility improvements by 5%. That is going to be pretty good, especially in the cost cap era as well. And then in the corporate facility, we have an upgrade, I believe. So we've now reached level 1 on our outreach group. Let's just remind ourselves of what that did. That increased the chance of signing new secondary sponsors, which is nice to see. Cheapest thing we can get is upgrading the secondary sponsor team, so that's going to increase the income from our secondary sponsors. So we're going to go ahead and start working on that. Let's just do a quick check. How are we doing with the cost cap? We're nowhere near, to be honest. At the moment, I still think this season we're going to be very, very unlikely to breach the cost cap. We do have to keep an eye on it, of course. We will be spending more and more money as the season progresses, but I think as things stand at the moment, this is not the season that we have to worry about breaching the cost cap. It's going to be in the future when things start to get more expensive and we have more... we have more facilities that allow us to spend more money in a shorter space of time. Like at the moment, I genuinely just don't think we can spend money fast enough to get close to breaching that cost cap. So yeah, this season I don't think we have to worry too much, but the next couple of seasons could be critical, and we need to be careful with the cost cap in the future. Right, so let's advance a few days. I think our gearbox improved materials is going to finish, and then we can have a quick look in engineering. So we can assign this one, and again I think we're going to assign this to Paul Aaron, because he's the driver, the form driver as it were, of the two at the moment, and then we will start developing the next one for Zach O'Sullivan as well. So we can start the single development on that one, standard. He'll get that in time for Imola. Soon, O'Sullivan will start getting some performance on his car as well, but he's just going to have to wait and be patient for the time being. And that seems to be pretty much everything that we have to do before the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you liked the video, then make sure you leave a like, leave a comment down below, and also subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications for when a brand new video is out. And from my side, the only thing I have to say now is thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.